back and look at every single resolution that came from Security Council or from the General Assembly in supporting Palestine. All of them support Palestine. All of them support Arab. But show me one time. One of these resolutions have been implemented. Why? Because it is against the interests of Israel, and because there is a Catholic marriage, no divorce, between the United States interests and that of Israel, it will never happen. However, any resolution that comes against Afghanistan, against Iraq, against Egypt or what have you, it is immediately implemented with sanctions and what have you. So this is the paradigm of ambivalence, the paradigm of hypocrisy. And then to be preached about democracy, rule of law and what have you, when I see one of the biggest bigotries in the world is the United States. Go and live there and see the racism. And they're teaching us about rule of law and human rights and tolerance and what have you. I'm trying to be critical, ladies and gentlemen, because I live in both worlds. I happen to teach there, and I happen to be in the Middle East, and I happen to be a Christian looking at Islam from a different perspective than even my fellow Muslim, who are ideologue, demagogue. They don't look at Islam as being a religion of tolerance and a religion that could accommodate to the socio-economic, political, objective conditions in the world. They think that this is the way it is during the Rasul sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Until now, nothing should change. Where is the element of ijtihad here? Why do we close the door of ijtihad? Yes, consensus is okay to a certain degree when there is harmony between those who are in power and those who are accepting that power. And that power should more or less reconcile the legitimacy of the authority. And if you have a deep conviction in the legitimacy of the authority, then I don't see any sense of alienation between those who are governing and those who are governed. This is true democracy. And this is the way we have to treat the democracy of the West, as a neighborhood democracy. And talking about 9/11, I think it's positive. It's no more. I mean, they can no more milk the cow. The war against terrorism and this and that has proved to be futile. And let me tell you, the Americans, World War I, World War II, okay, Vietnam War, they did not lose as much as they have lost in Iraq. They have invested $3 trillion. Do you think the Americans are going to leave the oil wells in Iraq or in the Gulf just like that after investing $3 trillion? So what's the idea behind this? Is it really the dissemination of democracy and rule of law? After all, what is politics if it's not interest, national interest? And how do we define foreign policy? We define it through the domestic determinants. The nexus between the most domestic determinants and that of foreign policy, it's all tied to national interest and to national strategy. And this is how we look at politics. There is no ethics in politics, sir. There is always economics and self-interest. This is the whole issue about, politics in the world. Let's not kid each other that we are now the propagators of human rights and what have you. While I see human rights abuse in the United States much more than any part of the Arab world. When I see almost 12 million people, bums, sleeping in the streets of New York, in Philadelphia and what have you, and they talk about, social justice and equitable distribution of wealth and what have you. I mean, this is hypocrisy. Let's not kid each ourselves. And I don't want to talk about Palestine and what is happening to Palestine, because I'm invited here tonight as a scholar to talk about the United States and the Middle East in general. Because, as a diplomat, I cannot really interfere in the internal affairs of my Arab, countrymen, for the simple fact that if I want to do that, I will be more harsh in criticizing what is happening even today after those dramatic changes that we are witnessing. And I don't see revolution, and excuse me for all those intellectuals who say that we are witnessing revolutions in the Middle East. A revolution, sir, is a social revolution. It's not a change of regime. And going back to ancient regimes with ideologies that has been so obsolete is not a revolution. And I think, we have to witness what is going to happen in the Middle East, which I call the Middle East because it is unpredictable for so many reasons. And in the final analysis, I cannot but say that if we don't have back the international system based on multipolar system, I think we are going to witness more ethnic strifes, more conflicts, not only in the region of the Middle East, but all over the world. And today, the credit crunch and the decline in the economic structures today is a good indication that the world should come at one and try to solve the issues, not a la style, we say in French, of American and Pax Americana, but it has to be done with the inclusion of all those people who have been deprived of political participation, of being part of a democratic world the way we would like to see it. Thank you very much.
Very much, Your Excellency. I think we will have another chance, and I've heard His Excellency many times, so I know when he speaks from the heart. He speaks for everybody in Middle East and in the world who are working for a better world we have to live in. I will start with His Excellency, Ambassador of Afghanistan, and then I will ask you to raise your hand. Can I welcome a few people here in this room? Obviously, Deputy High Commissioner of Pakistan is here. Zulfikar Gardezi is still sitting here. Mohammed Rafiq Zikriya is sitting here. Khalid Wajid. They're all three from Pakistan High Commission. Then Ian Stewart is sitting here, who made first film on Pakistan in 1974. He's not that old, but recently he's made a film on psychology of a suicide bomber, and he has interviewed some of them. He's sitting here from BBC and now works for Jazeera. With him is Dr. Nkio. And can I also welcome Andy Brooks, the Secretary General of New Communist Party of United Kingdom, and many other of Azam and members, as I said. Can I invite now, and particularly the media, who has come and covered this event, and I hope they will take this message back. And as I said, this is a start of a debate and discussion. I would like to invite His Excellency Dr. Mohammed Daud Yaar, Ambassador of Afghanistan in the UK, and then I will ask you to raise your hand and ask the question or comment. Your Excellency.
Thank you very much, Mushtaq, for your kind words, and thank you to all parliamentary group for organizing this meeting. The word confusion has been used during this meeting several times, and it gives me the suspicion that probably that word is very apt to describe the third world solidarity. We all have grievances. Believe me, if I start addressing my countries and my own personal grievances, the majority of this meeting will start crying. We have lost millions and millions. We have had millions and millions of victims. We have our homes destroyed. We have our children being killed, even today, on a daily basis. We have been the victim of terror and tyranny for the last 35 years, since 1978. As a young man who was forced to leave the country for the fear of my life. I'm not going to go into detail of history. History is gone. Let bygones be bygones. The question is, what can we do to have a better world in the future for our own and for our children? And that is the key question of our generation. There is no doubt that 9/11 brought historic political changes in a myriad of areas in our lives, especially at the international level. Security, the idea of security changed. The concept of security changed in the sense that before that, the fear was that the Armageddon might happen because of different states, but we saw that the small group of maniacs, about 20 or perhaps with logistical support, if you count all of them, perhaps 40 people, shook the world to its roots. So the nature of threat has changed. A small group of people having access to the kind of information systems and logistical systems that exist nowadays in this globalized world could wreak havoc in very large parts of the world. We have to be very aware of that. It affected the economy of the world and the economies of the country. A lot of resources that were used to produce goods or services for the people were diverted, and they were used for, now they are used for the so-called non-productive or non-productive activities, duha, or rent-seeking activities. International relations have changed. Voluntary cooperation among states was complemented, or perhaps forced, with forced cooperation. States which declined to cooperate at international level, now they're being forced, and I don't know if it's just or not, but somehow that is happening. The clash between liberty and tyranny intensified. This intensification of this clash is very low. Of course, liberty and tyranny have fought for millennia, but in our age today, the nature of that fight has changed, and it has taken us to a point where the future, the destiny of humanity can be in danger, or can become in danger. Yet, in my personal humble opinion, the most drastic change occurred in what can be termed as the climate of thought. His Excellency Stewart, Member of the Parliament, referred to something called intellectual confusion or ambivalence. But I think in the meantime, although a lot of ambivalence was, but we also have some clear thoughts about what is happening and what should be done. I think one of the lessons that we learned through 9/11 was that the notion of end of history, you're familiar with the term, I'm sure, coined by Francis Fukuyama back in 1992. The end of history was a premature thought. History will continue. Now, we will make the history. Human beings will make the history. The nature of the history and the structure and the shape that the history takes will depend upon our actions. So, history has not ended. History will continue. Another point that we learned is it is being realized that security threats in the form of terrorism do not know borders. These threats affect everybody in this room, including you and me and my countrymen back in Afghanistan, in the mountains of Afghanistan, in Pakistan, Wajid, and North Waziristan or South Waziristan. We're all in, nobody is safe. We also know that nation building and state building are not as easy as people thought at the beginning of the episode of 9/11, or right after 9/11. We thought that, Pakistan, Afghanistan, these countries are really machines. As we go there, we change some parts, we bring them to the machine, and introduce free markets, and things will flourish, and all these countries will become Switzerland in 5 or 6 years. That is not the case. State building and nation building requires a change of mind. It is the change of mind that causes development and social change. Professor was referring to social change. It's the result of a change in the process of thought, and that takes time. We shouldn't get very hasty and impatient with humanity's mind. We cannot change it overnight. We also know that small nations do matter for international security and peace. A small country like Afghanistan came to a state where a bunch of maniacs from there could attack the most powerful nation of history. So small nations should not be ignored. Another realization is that the use of force may be necessary to deal with the, with the security threats. Yet, use of force alone is not sufficient to defeat violence and extremism. It takes more than force, brute, military force. We know this. Anybody who disagrees with me can contest this. We have also learned that democracy has no better alternative. There is no better alternative than democracy for preserving peace and tranquility at national and international levels. We also know that unilateralism is not good for international level. And finally, we also learned during the last 10 years that injustice cannot go. And people want justice at the national level and international. It is not the injustice at the international level that make people furious, but also at the national level, there is plenty of injustice that people want relief. Thank you very much for your
I know, ladies and gentlemen, that each of you have come with a big history and background, and each of you can speak on this platform as much as my speakers have spoken. So be brief, ask question or comment, because we want to end it as soon as possible. Name and your organization and brief them. Thank you. Thank you.
My name is H.E.Professor, Chairman Alderman. My question is the Member of Parliament who are sitting here or who are gone, and the Western media, especially the British media. Before 9/11, this country, Great Britain, and I'm asking this question being Pakistani British, Pakistani. Before 9/11, this country was famous for its justice, its human rights, its harmony, and its truth. All over the world, the people, they are telling the story that this country is the best country for the human rights. This country is the best country because they take care of the justice, and this country is the best because these countries, people, they never tell a lie. They speak truth. But now after 11, should we start saying and telling the world, no, this country is no more champion of human rights. No, the British and the British media is no more supporting the truth, and no, this country is not more anymore supporting the justice. Because after 9/11, the criminals, they have been supported. After 9/11, who has destroyed this world, who has made this, terrible occurrence on the world, on the face of the world, against Muslims, killing them. Just before the people, the speaker, they already have spoken. 3 trillion money has been spent, millions of people they have been killed, and how come the Great Britain soldiers have been killed and their bodies have been brought in to this country? So my question, should we start, and my dear MD and Third World Solidarity, can you raise this question in the Parliament, that should we start saying to the world that no more, we are not the champion of harmony, the champion of truth, the champion of human rights, and the champion of justice?
Yes, lady.
Right. May I take the opportunity to ask speakers, especially High Commissioner, Deputy High Commissioner's views on forced disappearance and killing of thousands of Baloch political activists and hundreds of indigenous secular Sindhi human rights activists in Pakistan under the military ongoing operation. May I also point out that the Baloch and indigenous Sindhis are predominantly Muslim secular brothers and sisters. May I also raise the issue of violence against lesser known indigenous minorities in Sindh. Indigenous Sindhi Hindus is being carried, which is allegedly sponsored by Pakistani intelligence services. In particular, I would like to bring the attention of speakers' attention to issue of forced conversion of indigenous Sindhi Hindu girls to Islam by forced marriages. It has been estimated that 20 to 25 such cases occur every month in Pakistan. Pakistani government has failed to address both these issues. Many speakers also forgot to mention that Osama bin Laden was based a quarter of a mile from the military Pakistani base. Therefore, I I suggest that if you want to move from 9/11, then stop supporting Pakistan establishment, support secular and progressive forces within Pakistan, such as Sindhi, Baloch, and minorities, in the context of global security in this region.
Thank you very much. Your name, I asked your name.
Rubina Greenwood from World Sindhi Congress.
Thank you very much. I think we know that the greatest victim, and Shakir Qureshi, and your board question is, the greatest victim of 9/11 is human rights, tolerance, fairness, and democracy, in my opinion. So we will debate it another day. Yes. And I will ask the speaker to conclude.
Thank you very much, Nafi, from Pakistan High Commission. But I think it was out of context.
Of course.
The question posed by...
Let's not debate that. Let's debate word after 9/11.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. First of all, 9/11, that happened about 10,000 miles away from Pakistan. And Pakistan had nothing to do with that. And yet Pakistan was the biggest victim of 9/11 in the aftermath. War on terror, this term has been coined after 9/11. And war on terror, most of the people, even many Pakistanis say that we are part of the global drive against war on terror. But actually, in my view, war on terror has been imposed on Pakistan. And Pakistan has become the biggest victim of war on terror. Over here, I could see the consensus of which emerged from the deliberations of the speakers, that the biggest problem right now of all the ills in the world is that superpower, which is trying to control, which has actually become a police state. My question is that speakers, they have been actually talking the right things over here, but they have not been actually addressing the right audience. The right audience is the American audience. The right audience is the American congressman. The right audience is, I think, the people who are supporting the American cause, or those who are supporting the American objectives. I want to add to the, worthy ambassador of Palestine. He mentioned that 4 cornerstones of American policy to manage the world. I believe that one more cornerstone which you can add right now, which is in the aftermath of 9/11, is the containment of China. And that is one reason why America is there at this point in time in the Asia-Pacific. And if you look at what is emerging from now, from the announcement of policy, of American policy on Asia-Pacific in 2010, the specific references to that region all aims at containment of China. And they are going to exploit the disputes of South China Sea. And you will see that 9/11, whether we have learned any lessons, whether we have tried made any attempts to stop recurrence of 9/11 or such incidents, I don't think so. I think they have not stopped. Those who have caused that thing, they are still busy in paving way for more 9/11s to come in the years to come. So I think we must pay attention to that. We must try to contain that policies which are trying to sow the seed of discord among the international community. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Young lady there, I can't allow 2 of you. 1 of you will be allowed. Yes, young lady. Say your name first.
Okay, my name...
Stand up because it will be better, everybody can see you. And these will be the last 2 comments. Sorry to cut it short, but we had a good speaker.
my name is Yaar, and I'm speaking on behalf of Process. First of all, thank you very much for this opportunity and the platforms for us to actually, for the students and actually youth to actually voice their opinions as well. To be completely honest, I don't have that much of an insight into politics, but I do want to say that I've heard everything and what the solutions may be, but I still, as a youth and as a student, and on behalf of students, I don't really think we know how to be proactive in actually contributing to the solutions. And I feel like I see this all the time, just talking and like what caused it. But as a student and as youth, what can we actually do to contribute to improvement?
Thank you very much, Yaar. I'll tell you, a couple of weeks back, Dave Anderson raised a question in Parliament asking the foreign secretary in his time when they debated on corruption in Ethiopia. And then we were invited as a delegation to go and meet the foreign secretary, and we raised it. So I think if you get involved into these debates, these are not fertile. I think you are taking the wrong message, that when debates are happening here, the media takes it up, even Americans read it because they have their intelligence, and as you heard, you have to get involved. I think this is an open platform. Third World Solidarity invite all sides of the debate, and we are very open and we are public. We will invite next you to come and speak. What are your experiences, young man?
My name is Sohaib Bingham. I'm international representative of Baloch Student Organization AZA, and it's an organization that's striving for Baloch rights. What I want to say is that I'm extremely shocked to see people from Pakistani High Commission talking about double standards.
Excuse me. Sit down, because this is the debate on 9/11.
I'm going to the
9/11. You can't bring
I'm talking about.
I will bring those issues into the
I'm talking about.
Shakir, you are not supposed to speak.
I'm
I'm
talking
speaking to the
about
young man, and I'm speaking to him.
Yeah,
Hold on.
No,
I can't, because if he raises, she has already raised, I allowed her.
How do you know my question is not related
Okay.
to 9/11?
Okay.
Let him speak first. I'm shocked to see the double standards and shocked to see the Pakistani apologies. It's a developed fact that Haqqani group is being supported by Pakistani ISI. I belong to Noshki. This is an area bordering is in between Afghanistan and Balochistan. There's a tribal lord of my own tribe, Shafiq Mengal. He's an extremist Deobandi mullah who travels in FC Scott, the paramilitary force of Pakistan. He travels with 4 or 5 vehicles at a time. And my nation is the most that suffered after 9/11. All military aid that has been given to Pakistan to counter terrorism is being used against my nation that's struggling for its rights. The money that we are struggling for independence, and the money and all the military aid, all the helicopters are being used in military operations in Balochistan, Diyarbakir, and you can see the videos in YouTube.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Very brief.
The last two.
Very brief.
Minister,
Very brief.
quickly.
Yeah.
I know when people start debating on other issues, then it gets out of hand.
Right. My question is.
I have to allow these two speakers to respond to your question.
Yeah. My question is to the gentleman sitting on your left.
Yeah. Well said.
You led us to believe, and correctly we believe, that unilateralism must stop. It is the essence of whole thing. Very good. But how to stop it? Can you explain?
Thank you very much, Mr. Musa. I know Habib Jan and Halim Treen and Heather Bloch, as I said, can speak on these subjects for half an hour, 10 minutes. So Habib Jan, you are the last one because I allowed Mr. Musa.
Thank you very much.
But quickly.
My name is Habib Jan. I'm friends of Yaar convener. Actually, the thing is, after all debate which we have, and it's a final answer is a double standard. Americans and the British, what they are doing. And this is my idea, and I'm sure that when it started 9/11, when Mr. General Zawda came into the power, the first block and then become the wall, and it's 9/11. It's once time the Mugabe, they are not lovely darling of Connie Blair, but at the same time Mr. General Musharraf is a darling of West. The thing is, we should decide ourselves, being a young generation, or politician, or bureaucracy, whatever. They should decide to come on one agenda: tolerance, democracy, respect, and regard. And now, as my friend Manuel said, and I'm very concerned and very worried in future, maybe next 9/11, maybe 7/9 is become. What's going on in Balochistan, or what's happening in Afghanistan, and what's going in Karachi. So my last question to the speaker is Mr. Altaf Hussain is living in England. I wrote many letters. We went in the Supreme Court. We went international community. The one guy, when he speak, when he delivers speech, 5 hours, 6 hours, and raised in Karachi. Every day, 5, 10, 15, 20 people were killed in Karachi. Whatever Baloch, whatever Sindhi, whatever minority, everyone is disturbed. And David Cameron and United Nations and United States, they are supporting that guys who controlling Karachi, and Karachi is a power fight. Port.
Thank you.
Port. In said Palestinian ambassador, in what's happened in Iraq, the fight for oil. And what's going on in Karachi? Fight for port, fight for sea. So speakers, please, when you speak anywhere, decide tolerance, democracy, and respect. Everyone, whatever the minority, whatever the majority. Pakistan Zindabad and the world. Peace.
Thank you very much. I'll invite both of the speakers. Abdul Saud, is it brief one?
Yes, it is.
Is there any other person who has not?
What happened after post?
I think the young man there, you will ask me a question, but I hope it is not again for blows. Is it not? Okay.
Abu Saud, member of Third World Solidarity. What happened after 9/11, as we know, the life has become very difficult for all of us when we travel or speak all together. Then, especially for Muslims, and if you come from any part of the, whether it is Middle East or Far East or South Asia, what we can say, what Western nation had devised, 3 Ds, demonize, destruct, and so-called democracy. 3 Ds they worked on. And we all sucked into it, and we supported them in a way, what we have to do, how we can combat it. Combating, we have won the war on seminar symposium. What they win on unilateralism, force. So we have to use somehow force to finish it. Thank you very much.
I can allow everybody to speak, but I think the people are getting away. So, Mangal Saab, I agree with you. And we will have a debate on Balochistan. Come and see me. Yasmin, madam who spoke words in the Congress, come and see us. We will have a debate on the issues which you want to, minorities issues in Pakistan, the issue of Balochistan.
Issue of Sindhis as well. May I remind the audience that the issue of Sindhis.
Today, Mangal Saab has spoken.
Here you are trying to be diplomatic, you are trying to be a good man, showing to the people that you are a democratic man. We have spoken to you so many times. You claim to promote human rights and you claim to work for human rights. What about my human rights? 14,000 Baloch people are in the custody of Pakistani security.
Yeah, from another day.
500 Baloch have been killed in custody. Their bodies have been thrown in roads.
Speak. How long you want to speak?
No, I just want to say you.
Then sit down and talk. That's what I'm asking. If I'm not listening, come to the chairwoman here.
No, because when you speak about Balochistan,
you don't even need to speak. You just
You want to carry on while I'm chairing the meeting. So stop and speak to me once I finish the meeting. Is it okay? Thank you very much. Young man, sorry, we have to vacate this room at 8 o'clock, and I've got staff sitting here who has to carry these things in their room. I invite first these both, Mark and His Excellency, Ambassador of Palestine, and then I will thank you. So can I start with Mark Seddon to conclude, and I hope you will be briefer than ever.
Thank you very much, Mushtaq, and thank you very much to Third World Solidarity. Very briefly, the questions. As Britain no longer champions justice and democracy, it's a fact of life. There are always people in this country, as there are all over the world, battling for freedom and democracy. As Tony Benn would say, it's every generation's task to take that up. There was a miner's banner, I remember it, it said, "Eternal vigilance is the price of freedom," and that absolutely is it. How can students be more proactive? Get involved. You've got to get
Sahab, now listen, but he's responding to your question.
I think the young people, the students, the great motor for change throughout history is going to happen now, and you've got to get involved. And as you are now, you're doing things, you're active in the community, and everybody wants to hear what you want. Now, I think that just finally, the big question, how do we stop? How do we move away from this sort of unilateralism? I think that it'd be a terrible mistake to translate our deep anger at what has happened since 9/11 and blame the American people, blame the British people, and blame Muslims, and blame
Afghanistan, or Saudi Arabia, or whatever. There are clearly elements in all these societies who want conflict, and these are the people that we have to try and take on in the best possible way that we can. We are moving away from a unipolar world, I think. We're moving towards a duopoly again. There will not be one superpower in 10, 15 years' time. We're already seeing the emergence of China in a serious way. I think we want to see a much stronger non-aligned movement, and we want to see the growth of, as we were talking about earlier, the United Nations, international law, and much else besides. But I think we may have seen, I would hope, the worst of unilateralism, because we're moving away from this idea of a unipolar world, because the United States will no longer be the only superpower in a few years' time.
Thank you, Mark. Your Excellency.
Thank you very much, Mushtaq. I mean, most of the questions and the comments were on Pakistan. I would like to be invited to give my perspective on Pakistan next time when you hold another meeting. But for the sake of sticking to our discussion, let me say a few things. First of all, if we look today at American foreign policy, and I'm trying to be less passionate and more rational with you, today the United States, as a unipolar power, have inculcated the doctrine of military supremacy in the world. And it's through military strength they're trying to rule over the world, and not through the spread of democracy and whatever. Please don't be fooled by that. Secondly, they have initiated a doctrine of what they call preemptive, preventive type of war. And if you look at this kind of doctrine, it has been initiated and implemented in the wars against Afghanistan, Iraq, and whatever. And thirdly, they have tried to come with the concept of regime change, and that kind of regime change basically to suit their own geostrategic interest by trying to put regimes that will secure their oil interests in the region. So these are the new, what I call tactics rather than strategy, because still I stick to my guns when I talk about the four cornerstones of US foreign policy. And finally, on this issue per se, I think the gentleman who just left, he forgot that I told him the interest of basically the United States in going against the war to Iraq because of the Qaeda. These are excuses. I said to stop the hegemony of China and Russia in controlling the Caspian Sea, where the high stakes of interest for oil for the Middle East, controlled by the United States, will be basically, threatened. Now today we can witness a total downgrading in relations in the Sino-US relationship, and for reasons that are very known. I don't want to go into more details on this, but let me come back and try to give you some buzzwords as post 9/11. Post 9/11 had triggered the emergence of non-state actors in world politics. 9/11 had created much more insecurities and instability by the war on terror that at one time we used to call it freedom fighters in Afghanistan. Today they are terrorists, of course. And the question of instability and insecurity that has been created as a result of such policies, the United States has to pay a very heavy price. And that price, I agree with my friend, that it is a price the United States has to pay. There is nothing called supremacy in power that is ubiquitous. We have learned as students of Alderman that history is dynamic, it is full of contradictions and dialectic and didactic in its process. So we have seen empires, coming and crumbling, and we can see this unipolar power is going to crumble. Then we have witnessed the credit crunch. Do you think it is the making of the oil-producing countries? Who is behind the credit crunch, except the power elite as been described by C. White Mills, like the multinational corporations, the military-industrial complex in the United States and what have you, and not to mention the lobbyists, APAC and others, that are key factors in playing the world politics. Then What does 9/11 came up with? Another consequence is the ethno-sectarian conflicts in the region and in the world, let alone it created also the crisis of legitimacy in the world. And today, we can just mendel the whole thing. As they say, is it the spread of democracy? I see the oxymoron. Democracy versus / anarchy and popular culture. That's what it is, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you.
Your Excellency, Mark, ladies and gentlemen, I think there are many people who have not given the chance to speak, but I want to thank Fraz and his colleagues who are working in the Parliament, Alana Cohen and Yasser Abbas, who is going to take this banner upstairs and put it in the office, or Fraz possibly. And so I thank everybody who has attended this, and there will be many more to come. And I hope that one day I have a meeting on Balochistan, and the Mengal Saab and his other colleague will not depend and on Word Sindhi as well, and minorities issues in Pakistan. Can I thank everybody and go safely home, and let's see each other again very soon. Thank you very much.